Today I'm diving into all things Astro Pop Tee. So if you're curious about the details, grab a cup of something and let's dive in. Hey there, fiber friends, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. Today I am going to talk about the Astro Pop Tee and just briefly explain what it's all about. If you have never participated in the Olive Knits 4-day knit along, you're in for a treat. And no, it is not actually 4 days long. That was just what she titled it when she challenged herself as the designer to knit a sweater in 4 days. The actual knit along is roughly about a month long. And I want to say this is the 8th or 9th year that we've been doing it. And so I have been a participating dyer for quite some time now. I want to say 5 or 6 years. And this year it is a t-shirt that she's calling the Astro Pop. And I have a lot of thoughts about this tee. It is a t-shirt, so it's going to be perfect for transitional weather. You can wear it in the summertime, you can wear it in spring, the fall. I really think it's going to become a 3-season wear for a lot of folks. So this is what the design initially looked like. I have not actually finished mine. I got the general gist of it. It does have some V-shaped lace patterns going down the side. I opted not to do that. I just prefer going around and around on the sides. Her initial design showcased it with a color up here, a color down here, and then one contrasting color in the middle. As you can see, I added a second contrasting color through that middle just to kind of change things up for myself. This is going to be a great pattern if you have never tried your hand at making a garment. There are videos to help you with let's say the Japanese short rows that are early on to elevate the back of the neck. And this zigzag pattern in the middle is super easy. Now, if I were going back and doing this again, I think I would have opted to do the yellow on the top and the bottom. And instead of having a contrast color at the top, I think this would be beautiful in just one color straight through and utilize that zigzag in the middle to really use scraps, different types of mini skeins, whatever you might have. This is a DK weight tee, and so it is designed to be used with some sort of plant fiber blend. My version is done in a 50% wool, 50% cotton DK weight yarn. I'm a huge fan of cotton wool blends because that animal fiber, that wool, is going to wick sweat, pull it away from my skin, and the cotton is going to help keep me cool. She does go through a lot of information about yarn. If you have a heavy sport, maybe you have a lighter worsted plant fiber, but it is meant to be a lightweight short sleeve garment. Now, I use DK weight for everything except the orange and the pink are actually fingering weight in that same 50-50 cotton DK blend. However, I just held the fingering double. I had used these two colors in my bonfire tee, and I just opted to use them since I had them conveniently laying around as scraps from finishing that other tee fairly recently. So I think if I were to go back and do a second version of this, besides doing the same color on top and bottom, I might even, instead of using a DK, I would be tempted to use my 50-50 cotton DK in fingering and hold it double. Holding fingering double versus just using DK, even though we're getting the same weight, ultimately, in the end, it's just a much drapier feeling. And when I did the orange and pink stripes, I really noticed that it just felt different. The fabric was just a little bit drapier in those sections because I was holding that fingering double, and it allows the fabric the ability to move a little bit more freely because it's not bound up so tight in one strand of yarn. It's two strands of yarn. So if you've got plenty of fingering lying around, I would even be tempted to utilize that. This pattern is going to come in 9 different sizes. It is meant to be worn with 2 to 4 inches of positive ease because it is a circular yoke, and I don't have, oh, I do have bust circumference measurements. I am working from a test copy of the pattern, so some of my numbers may be adjusted in the final pattern. To kind of finalize those numbers then, I'll try to get the most accurate numbers that I can, but this is designed to meet anywhere between a 36.75 bust measurement, which is a 92.25 centimeter, at the bust, and it goes up to 71 inches, which is 177.5 centimeters. So size inclusive, when we subtract 4 inches from 71, we're going to get 67. So well within those parameters, at least on the larger end, if you're concerned about that. I also tend to be worried about sleeve circumference, just because I'm a little more meaty around my arms. So it does, the sleeves work from 11.75 inches to 18 inches, which is 29.5 to 45.25 centimeters. Obviously, you can lengthen or shorten the body as you need. She does give information about yoke depth and sleeve length as well in her pattern, so that you could customize that to your liking as well. This was done, we use a lot of different needle sizes. For the most part, we're on a size 5. You do use a 3 for the neckline. You use a 5 through the body. In here in the zigzag area, we did go up to a 7, and so it does give it a little bit more give. And my first reaction was, I don't know why we're going up 2 needle sizes, but I think it's really going to keep that zigzag section from puckering or pulling around our bust area. So I think it's going to be okay in that larger size. Plus, with the plant fiber in there, this superwash merino isn't going to grow quite as much. The gauge is 23 stitches by 28 rows. So again, I think there's some flexibility in whatever you might have in your stash that you want to dive in for to work through this. I've told you that I think I would do it in one color and use the zigzag rows to really play around with color in that regard. One of my other thoughts that I think would be really beautiful is if you had because maybe you're not into this whole color, like pops of color and stripes. If that's not your thing, I think if you had a lightly speckled yarn and you wanted to do the whole entire thing in it and let it be more monochromatic, I think that would be really beautiful. And again, I think holding it with 2 strands of fingering weight yarn is really ideal. She is got basic pattern support. Again, you're going to get video help with those short row shaping. You're going to get charts and written out. I'm just double checking. Yeah, and written out directions for the lace detail if you do want those lace downward V's down the side of your sweater. So if you're kind of unsure in that regard about some of the techniques, I would totally dive into this. I think it's well worth the effort. She does have some options to do short sleeve versus a half sleeve. So if you're looking more for maybe that almost like 3/4 length sleeve, like you want a longer sleeve, there are some instructions for kind of decreasing to get that look that you're wanting. This year, she's doing things really differently. She is going to have her own Zoom information sessions, and I've signed up for one. And if you're on my newsletter list, I'm going to send that out so you too can also sign up for those. They're early in June. I think mine, if I remember correctly, is June the 4th or 5th. I can't remember. So she's going to have informational sessions where instead of doing them with particular yarn shops, those of us that are participating can send out a link for our peeps to sign up and really hear from the designer about her thoughts on yarn selection, sizing. You'll have the opportunities to see a lot of different versions of it, because anyone who's finished by those informational sessions will have the opportunity to share those. So I think it's, again, a really great opportunity. I think you'll start to see them popping up on social media this week and next for those of us who have been working on them. I plan on scheduling some Zoom dates. So in July, when this kicks off, you will have the ability to come sit via Zoom and knit with me and chat and just have a really good time with casting this on. I may even cast on another one. I really enjoyed this. Even during this zigzag section, it's just a really fun knit. The only reason I put it down is because my real job as a teacher, it's that time of year where things are crazy hectic, trying to get seniors to graduation and just get the rest of my students to finish out the year strong, because that summer, everybody's getting that itch to want to be outside for summer. So again, yarn, you're going to have a main color. You technically have one contrasting color and then a second contrasting color in here. Again, if it were me, I think one color would be beautiful. And then for this section, utilize what scraps you might have, because for this accent color down here, it's anywhere between, now remember, my numbers could be a little off from what ends up being finalized, but from a yardage standpoint, like this orange and pink, all I needed was a total of, for my size, 86 yards. So for the smallest, it's as low as 70, and the highest is 127. So at most, if you were making the very biggest size, at most, that's just a little, that's right around the halfway mark on some DK weight skeins. So again, I think it's a great opportunity to utilize what scraps you might have, particularly if you want to do them in multiple colors. I know that I did last year, I did a t-shirt in my 50/50 DK weight, and it was color work, and I ended up using just superwash merino nylon DK weight minis, just different color mini skeins, because again, if you're only needing 70 or 80 yards, most DK mini skeins are about 46. So if you had 2, 3, 4 of them, you could really do something beautiful in that area. The main color, so this yellow that I used, ranges anywhere from 656 yards to a little over 1,200. So depending upon your sizing, for me at 826, that is roughly 3 skeins of yarn for me. And then up here for this top color, I needed 244. I actually think that number was estimated to be a little bit high, which is why I think these numbers might change by the time she actually publishes the final draft of this, because I never broke into a second skein. But the lowest would be 183 up to 359. So anywhere between 1 to 3 skeins up top, depending upon what size you're intending to make. And then again, mini skeins or scraps. So to summarize my thoughts, again, I think there's a lot of versatility with this year's pattern. That's why I love it so much. Because though I really love this whole citrusy theme I have going on here, I could totally see doing it again, one color top and bottom with different colors in the zigzaggy portion. I could totally see myself using a lightly speckled yarn and doing the whole entire thing, including my zigzags in that color, or choosing a really lightly speckled yarn and then doing 2 or 3 colors in the middle if you want a more neutral look, but you want just a pop of color in your zigzags. But again, if you did the whole thing in a lightly speckled yarn, and it would just be a really beautiful version. So I'm really excited about this because there are so many ideas. I am doing a restock of my 50/50 DK. By the time you see this video, that restock will have been done. Everything's dyed, it's dry. I just need to skein it up and get the numbers listed on the website. I will be updating my 50/50 fingering weight, but that has not been dyed. Certainly, this would be really lovely, I think, if you're familiar with my willow fingering. That's a 90% wool, 10% linen. It's a light fingering, but I think if you held that double, that would have amazing drape. It would be really beautiful. I'm pretty sure with that 23 stitches, you could definitely get gauge with it. And yeah, I'm super excited about this version. This knit along kicks off at the beginning of July. I want to say we start July 1st. So let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. Are you excited for this? Do you love this? Do you hate it? Are you ready to go stash diving? What's your plan? I'd love to hear. If there are color combinations you would like me to show you as options, you can always email me at melissa@risingtidefiberco.com, and I would be more than happy to take a picture of color combinations for you and give you a sense of what that looks like. I can easily pull the skeins off the truck and take a picture and send them out to you. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, friends, happy knitting. I'll see you next week.
Always think of you when spring comes, like it's something in the air at that time. Don't know why. Always dream of you when spring comes. It's like the heat on my skin takes me back to the time met you on